the gathered skirt. It's the perfect staple for any wardrobe, not just a vintage one. A little nervous about displaying your vintage love in public? Just make it a little less full. I love gathered skirts. Circle skirts are definitely the one thing everyone thinks of when they think of vintage 50s fashion. However, I'm pear-shaped, so a circle skirt on me just accentuates my mom pouch. So gathered skirts are my favorite, and I prefer to make them pleated, teeny tiny little pleats rather than gathers, as that also kind of just slims that stomach line. Or waistline. I'm going to show you how I make mine, but I also came across this amazing fabric on eBay, and I should show you the simplest way, but of course I'm going to make it more complicated. But following along with me, you'll be able to do a simple straight hemmed easily. I'm not speaking well today. I apologize. I'm suffering a migraine. So what you'll need is a 7 or 9 inch zipper. I love buying out thrift stores and estate sales of all their vintage zippers. It's so much cheaper than getting them at Joann's, but you can also get them at Joann's, Michael's, whatever's closest to you. I also love purchasing random trims from, don't judge me, Goodwill, especially when it's the color of the day. I grabbed this one because my fabric is this incredible faux drapery fabric, which I thought would be just amazing as a big full skirt. I mean, look at that. So what I was looking at is this trim on these faux drapes is this beautiful looped blue trim, and I just love a little pop of color at the waistband. So I had, unfortunately not the same loops, but this beautiful crocheted edge scallop trim that we will just insert into the waistband. So at least I can show you how to jazz it up a little. I also am hoping to finish this up with a lace edge at the bottom. I still haven't decided though if I will or which one would be better. I'm actually going to base it on whether there's even enough. Again, these are things that I've grabbed at either Goodwill or this one was in a bag of lace trim at an estate sale. So, when cutting your fabric, you're going to want to decide how full you want it. I have gone so far as to create my skirts out of 4 full panels widthwise of fabric. This one I don't have enough, but this is also a wider fabric. Usually with your cotton fabrics, you're getting about 42 to 44 inches, and this one's packing almost 55 inches across. So I will still have 110 inches of skirt, but this means that I am going to save myself the hassle and just have 2 side seams, which means I'm going to have a side zipper and only 1 pocket. You're going to measure down your fabric, which I've already done to show you, the length that you would like your skirt to be, and you'll end up cutting it. Now I marked so that you could see what I did here. Normally I would measure down, my favorite length is about 28 inches, and then I add about 2 inches for my hem allowance. I like T-length skirts. I just prefer them that way. You can make them above knee, below knee. You can make it all the way to the ground if you feel like it. I ended up wanting to make sure that I had 2 sets of this drapery to really play with that illusion of draped fabric. I believe, now I'm getting nervous here, hang on. Did I leave enough? I'm gonna check. Ill prepared for my video. Hang on. 18. Did I mark it wrong? No. What? Uh-oh. Do you see my face? I'm crashing. 18. would have wanted 9 more inches. I cut it too short. What was I doing? There's no way this is gonna be too short. I screwed up. Hang on, I screwed up. Crash and burn, crash and burn. All right, so I realized my marking was off. I don't know what I did last night when I was trying to prep it, but I've gone ahead and fixed it back up and remarked. So one of my panels will be like this. I'll cut my other one out, but I'm still getting the 2 full draperies in there, which I think are just gonna look incredible coming off a gather, don't you? And I'm thinking at the bottom, and this is what I was talking about, normally we would do a straight hem across the bottom of this, which would be so easy. You could either machine stitch it or hand stitch it for that invisible hem. But there's a part of me that think it would just be so much fun to play with the scallops along the bottom of this hem. Which I have actually never tried to hem like this, so this first for everything. And like I said, usually I'm winging it and I just give it a go, because what fun is life if you don't just go for it? So I'm going to cut out this other piece and I'll show you how to go about pockets. So let's just get this last panel snipped out. Now if you're not working with a novelty print, it's not striped, you can easily fold the fabric and cut on your cutting mat with your rotary cutter if you've got one. But since I'm working with a design, I really wanted to spread it out and just make sure everything was being cut in the same spot, or else any little bit that might have ended up crooked would be so obvious. Okay, almost there. Like I said, this is a lot of fabric in the width. If any of you are interested in seeing how I go about repairing some vintage, please leave a comment and let me know what kind of repairs you most commonly struggle with, and I can at least show you what I do when I'm trying to make my vintage dresses wearable again. But the next best thing is making your own vintage. Look for vintage fabric on eBay, Etsy, estate sales, garage sales, thrift stores. You can find really great fabrics and create your own vintage looking dresses. Just do that. There's even great reproduction fabrics out there right now. Okay, I cannot stand not having pockets, so I always have to have a pocket. I actually, and I've lost it. Hang on, there it is. A long time ago, so I don't even remember what pattern I yanked this pocket from. Probably one of Gertie's. She's my favorite pattern designer. Gretchen Hirsch, check it out. Charm patterns are phenomenal. I stole one of her pockets though. I had been working on another skirt. I had accidentally cut and served too many, so I have kept this one. It sits on a shelf in my sewing room, and it is my base pocket pattern. I throw it into everything I'm making if it doesn't already have a pocket. So either grab a base pocket pattern, or an easy thing to do, take something with the size of a pocket you really love, turn it inside out, hold your, I don't have one to show you, but pull that pocket out. Very easy to do on a skirt. If you have a skirt with big pockets you like, just turn your skirt inside out, lay that pocket flat, and trace around it on a piece of paper, and you'll have your base pocket pattern. I am just going to cut out 2 pieces because I'm only doing 1 pocket. Should have laid out my fabric better, but perfect size for cell phone keys. Okay. I'm not a perfectionist either. Look, I gave it a little extra room. Okay, This is garbage. I think I cropped it out of my last video, but I save, not the little teeny tiny pieces, but I always save my scraps. I like to quilt as a hobby on the side, though I don't usually have enough time for it lately. But I throw these into a little bin because someday I will make a quilt out of all the remnants of the pieces of clothing I've made so that I can see just how much I've made. So I always set the clothing pieces aside no matter what kind of fabric it is. Earlier, I cut out the waistband piece. Typically, I will cut my waistbands, the piece itself, to be about 5 to 6 inches, depending on how thick I feel like making it or how much fabric I have left. This one I did 5 inches. I go by my waist measurement, and I will add about 3 to 4 inches onto that to allow for seam allowance, the overhang, and I actually like to leave a little bit of a larger tab on the inside of my skirts to allow for fluctuating sizes because, let's face it, we fluctuate. So I don't always want to have to get rid of them, and it's something I've learned just recently with my sewing is if I leave a little extra, I get a lot more wear out of my clothes if I fluctuate between sizes. You just move your hook and eye over, maybe loosen some gathers, but at least you're not losing all of that hard work. Okay, and then once you've cut out your waistband, you're also going to want to, I like to add some interfacing. I don't want it stretching or distorting while it's on me. So I use, you really can't see it here. Did I put it away? I put it away already. I just use a lightweight fusible interfacing that I got from Joann's. I got a ginormous bolt because I fly through it. I wouldn't use any stiffer. I've tried and I find that the waistband then sticks off of you funny. The lightweight has done a really nice job of just holding shape and keeping this fabric from stretching out on me as I'm wearing my skirts, but it doesn't keep it so stiff that it doesn't move with your body and you get these weird edges hanging over. Okay, so it is really, really easy to finish this. Oh, one other thing. Oh my goodness, where did I put them though? Bear with me. I'll be right back. I know a lot of people don't have sergers if you're just beginning out sewing, and one thing that was wonderful about the vintage clothes that you can still do now is pinking shares. Pinked seams will not fray as badly as straight seams, and it will give you the finish of a vintage garment. And honestly, I have a serger. I love it. It's great when I'm working with knits, lightweight, rayon silkies, anything that frays very easily. You definitely would want to have a serger for. But if you're just starting out and you like sewing with cottons and you're not sure how serious it'll be, a pair of pinking shares is so affordable, and I even choose to use it when I'm working with my cottons because I feel like it gives it that vintage finish. Let me go grab mine and show you. Again, they're vintage. I found them probably at a Goodwill. I don't remember. Or maybe I've gotten things handed to me by people too. So let me get them. I'll show you what they do. I'm sure you probably know, but just in case. And then we'll get to sewing the side seams together. Don't look, it's my little secret. Messy stairs. Okay. Shall we mourn the loss of Sears? These are my vintage pinking shears. Look, they used to be $1.99. I'm sure you can't get them for that now unless you find them at the thrift shop. But be careful. I did buy one pair and they did not work. I don't know if they were just worn down or what. But these are phenomenal. They're great, especially on these curved seams for the pockets. So that is what I'll do first. I'm going to pink them now just because I don't want to deal with it when it's sewing in. I don't have to do the top of the pocket. That's going to be enclosed within the waistband, and you do not have to pink any of the seams on the waistband. All of those seams end up enclosed. The only thing you really need to worry about is your side seams. The top of the skirt is fine. Your hem, because you can enclose your hem. And this is just, like I said, maybe a little extra time, but oh my gosh, so easy. And I just love it. I guess maybe because I'm a collector of vintage clothing and nearly all my clothes pre-60s Even some of the 60s are pink seams, so this just makes it fit right in with everything else in my closet. Almost there. Getting a little messy. You know what, it's because I'm cutting through 2 layers at once. I really should just do one at a time. But oh my gosh, look at that. It is not going to fray. I can't believe I'm going to do this. It's not going to fray the way that a straight seam does. See the way that that just pulls right off? This really prevents it. So it is a great alternative if you're looking to sew on a budget, which I love sewing on a budget. So I really try not to buy any fabric new or full priced unless I am absolutely needing to match an item that I'm repairing, or I really fall in love with a new fabric. But if I showed you my fabric, you would tell me I don't need to buy anymore anyway. I have a hard time cutting into some of them, but I'm trying to be better. Another fun thing to look for when you're out thrifting for your fabrics or even notions, vintage buttons, awesome. Can never have too many buttons. I have jars of buttons upstairs because who wants to go out when you have the urge to sew in the middle of the night and you need a button? And vintage sewing books. They are phenomenal. Actually, really any sewing books. I love reading, and I love the old books. I just love. I love learning the old techniques. So, okay. Almost there, guys. I'm sorry. Perhaps I should prep this stuff beforehand, but I never know if someone's going to want to see exactly what to do start to finish. So I am going to cut off the salvages. Well, you know what, guys? Okay, now don't laugh at me. This is where I say I don't follow any rules. The salvages are finished. There is going to be no fraying. So I'm actually thinking I'm just going to do a thicker seam allowance and leave the salvages in there. I also really like to do this sometimes when you're using a vintage fabric, which this one's not that vintage, it's 1991. But, I mean, come on, if anyone ever asks me what the fabric is, I'll just turn my skirt inside out and let them know. All right, so we are ready to begin. Sorry, I'm just going to wheel my machine in here. I'm working on my dining room table because it's where we have the best lighting in our house. My workroom is very dim, not so great for recording in. So someday, if you want, I can give you a tour, but it will be a little dark. So again, I'm not going to do it unless it's requested. But, okay. You are going to match up your pieces. Now, if you're doing 4, because let's say you want a really full skirt, you're going to end up with a center seam in the front and a center seam in the back. I would suggest, if you're a new sewer, grab a cut of 60-inch wide fabric. It makes it so easy if you're just starting out to be able to whip out a skirt with just 2 seams and your waistband, and you're done. So, but don't be afraid to add more fabric if you so choose. A lot of my super fluffy skirts are 4-paneled. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm really bad at videos. Alright, I told you to match up your fabric, so that's where we're going to go. And I'm cutting this, so I don't know why I said it. Okay. Alright, you're going to match up if you're leaving seam allowances. If you have like mine, this is just such a nice finish. I mean, this is really sewn in there and finished. So I'm going to match these up, but I'm not going to stitch from the top. You need to leave an allowance for your zipper, which, don't get nervous. Zippers are way easier than you think. I love a lap zipper. I was so scared at first, but then once I started to dive in, I watched a couple of YouTube videos. No big deal. All right. This is the one time I don't pin. I hope that doesn't drive anybody too crazy. If it does, there's plenty of tutorials out there where they do. I just, I'm terrified I'm going to leave a pin in something. And back when I was sewing for my kids, their clothes as babies, I couldn't use pins. It just scared me. What if I missed one? Okay, let's see. I mean, they're great for armholes. I mean, I do use them, but straight lines, I really, Okay. Oh, I did 7. Mine is a 9-inch zipper, I think. You're just going to leave the allowance for the size of zipper you have. And you know what? I've thrown all of my notions around the room somehow under all this fabric. So, this isn't good. Embarrassing. I'm not good at this. Okay, I really lost the zipper. What the hell? Bella, did I throw it somewhere? Is that what flew across the room that time? No, that was a pencil. Oh my God, right in front of me. Hey, back out. I keep losing things, so I'm back. All right, so you're gonna measure down the size of your zipper, which I should have checked. 9, mine is 9 inches. Such a beautiful color. I'm using a vintage willow green. Oh, beautiful. All right, so 9 inches down. All right, I'm eyeballing it. Got my finger there. Okay. You're definitely going to want to backstitch a few times before you even get started with the seam because you do not want your zipper slipping around. I am also, if you're using a pattern print, peek through. Make sure that everything appears, don't just trust your cut line there. Make sure everything appears to be lining up right because you really want everything to meet nicely at your seams. So, I think this is about right, I hope. I mean, not the end of the world, honestly. If people can't see the mistake as you're walking by, no one's going to know it's there. Don't be nervous to do things because, honestly, have you ever looked inside the clothes you get from the store? Believe me, none of them are matched up right. I think that's why I like the vintage dresses so much. If you ever look inside of them, the craftsmanship is just absolutely incredible. Okay. Don't get me wrong, though. I still buy new. Okay. So a couple of back stitches. You really don't want this moving when you're unzipping and pulling it on, and the last thing you want is your seams loosening and having to go back and redo. Although again, not the end of the world. Oh my gosh, you guys, hang on, I gotta go back. I'm missing the seam allowance, hang on. And I put a new bobbin in, and it is not gripping right. Hang on there, guys. Start over. What in the heck is happening? Okay. Let's try again. Alright, so make sure you backstitch really well at the starting point because you really want strength there. That is going to take the brunt of the stress when you're putting your skirt on, taking it off. The zipper is right there. So. And we are just going to go all the way down the seam. And see, I think I even left some of my selvage in there, so I may have to go back and add just a couple stitches in one little corner where it didn't get it. But for now, this is such a quick project. I absolutely love this. Please tell me that. Oh, yes. Perfect. All right. And my fabrics aren't even at the bottom because the one I was using just the bottom of the fabric. Since I know that I'm going to cut along these scallops, I'm following the print of the fabric. But yours will be straight on. And you'll have a beautifully finished bottom here. Okay. So our zipper side is prepared for our zipper. And you know what? Why don't we just nip the scariness in the butt right now. And let's just do the zipper. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at that, perfect. See what happens when you take the time to match your design. Look at that. There's a seam in there. You don't even really notice. I'm so excited. Okay. I think inserting a zipper is so much easier when you do it before you form your outfit. I mean, when you've got a flat piece like this, boom, perfect. So I am going to go to the ironing board. I am being such a dork. Oh my God. I hope people are going to follow this. Why am I doing this? Okay. I am going to go to the ironing board and I am going to press this seam flat, and pressing a seam flat or out means that you are separating your two selvage pieces in here, or your seam allowance, that's that extra inside your outfit. You're going to press that out. You want to press it flat. This gives from the front a totally flat appearance. Always press, trust me, as you're going. It seems really like such a pain in the beginning when you're first starting out sewing, but it really makes a world of difference. So I'm going to go press this out, and then, oh, you know what? I'm going to take you with me because I want to show you how to prep this for a lap zipper. So bear with me. I'm going to turn the camera. Like I said, I am set up. Oh, you're going to see my messy dining room. Okay, here we go. Shrink down on the chair for you. Okay. Me again. This is my mess, so don't judge. Okay. Sorry about this. This is my very old travel ironing board that's pretty much broken at this point. Keeps falling over on me while I work, but it works. So don't laugh at it if it collapses. Okay, so like I was saying, you're going to lay this down and press both seams open. And you definitely want to do this when doing a lap zipper because one seam allowance is going to be left smaller than the other. That's what creates the lapping. So you're actually going to, when you create this lapping, sorry for my arm in there, but as you can see, so here's straight, and if you take one and make it just a little smaller, the other one will lap right over it. That's all it takes for doing a lap zipper. It really isn't as daunting as you think it's going to be. Actually, the most daunting part for me is figuring out which side of my dress will be the front then. So, skirt. We're making a skirt. Dress will be easier. Oh my gosh, I'm sounding like a dork. Sorry, guys. Okay. We should be heated up by now, but why don't we have steam? Here it comes. So and steam, always a nice steam and a heavy press. I have a very heavy iron. I used to work with a plastic one and it just did not do the job this one does. I got this one for probably $15 on Amazon and I can't recommend it enough. Everyone's got these fancy ones. This is a Black & Decker, the classic. And it, of course, looks vintage, but it's also as heavy as those old irons and it is absolutely perfect for pressing seams. So produces a lot of steam, it's heavy, it just does a great job. And no, I'm not sponsored by them, but if they want to sponsor me, hi! Okay. So, with this opening we left, we're going to press one side with the same seam allowance. Now typically, you would have 5/8 inch seam allowance. Unfortunately, I am breaking all the rules again because I make do with what I've got, so I was trying to keep this selvage in there. So let's pretend I have a 5/8 inch. One side will keep the 5/8 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and press that one, and that is super easy to do because you are just following the same seam you've already got. Perfect. Make sure you press this part nicely. It will make for a much easier zipper experience. Okay, now, so this is what you'll have. It's just going to be a continuation, as you can see, of that seam. The other side, I really am waiting for a tripod to come, you guys. I am using a Lego stand my son built for me for this. So once I have a tripod, I can angle you a lot better to see. I'm so sorry. The other side, you will leave an extra 1/4 inch. Is it a 1/4 inch? 1/8 of an inch? See, I don't follow the rules. You're going to leave extra. I wing it. So I am just going to fold it in a little bit, because you just want that zipper hidden behind the lap thing. I promise I will look it up for you tonight in my sewing books and tell you the technical amount. But if you so choose. I haven't had an issue yet, so. I'm a casual sewer. Sewing police would not like me. All right, nice crisp seam. So as you can see, when I'm holding this flat, let me try to lift it up without moving it. Can you see it? That seam is overlapped by the bottom seam now. Oops! Okay, but this is a great way to see it too. This one is definitely less of a seam allowance than the other one, and it's going to end up like this. And from the front, I'm sorry if I'm going too slow on this, but I just know how scary a zipper can be for beginner seamstresses. So there you go. You're going to have this beautiful lapping, and oh my gosh, again, if I insert this right, oop, oop, oop. I mean, look at that pattern matching. Oh, to die for. Okay. I'm back at the sewing machine, my little square table. Okay. With my zipper foot. I don't think this is going to show even with my hand. Will it? Is it better on the door? Okay, this is a zipper foot. I have just a cheap plastic one that came with my machine, but I shouldn't say cheap plastic because it's held up and it's working great. So, mine, I don't know if you can see what I was doing. I'm talking as if you're just a beginner, so if you're not, I'm sorry for boring you, but you just pop off using this back lever if you've got a similar foot, and this just attaches on. And it is going to depend what side I put it on with what side I'm working on. Okay. Alrighty. Did I want green thread or white thread? Oof. You guys, don't hate me. I'm going to go get some green thread. I think it's going to look better with this fabric. I'll be back again. I was sewing in white because of the lace, but it's a little off from the color, but definitely blends better than white, so I think it's what we're going to go with. I'm going to keep the white bottom thread, though. I don't think that's a big deal. I'm almost out of white. I need to go shopping. Here we go. Okay. And for those of you shopping for a machine, like you're just starting and you're watching sewing tutorials and you just are just getting bold enough to go get one, you do not need anything fancy if you're planning to do clothes. You really just need a machine that can straight stitch, zigzag, and hopefully comes with that zipper foot. But even if it doesn't, you buy one on Amazon or eBay or, you know. Okay. All right, for inserting your lap zipper, and if my dogs bark, I'm sorry, they're starting to play together. I'm losing my mind. Okay. For inserting your lap zipper, you're going to start by sewing on the side that has the smaller seam allowance. This is going to be the side that ends up underneath the lapped part. So you'll sew your lapped part last because that's going to be determined by where that zipper sits. This is honestly the hardest thing you're going to do in this skirt, and I promise you it's not that hard. You could and you should baste it in, especially as a beginner sewer. And I mean, the way that I learned was I was not basting with my machine. Take a hand needle and a little bit of your extra thread and just hand baste this in. You know what, maybe one of these times if you want, I'll show you. Just let me know if that's something you want me to show you how to do, because it honestly, it holds everything in place for you. You rip it out after you stitch this down, but this is not going to wiggle on you. But I, again, lack patience, and oh my gosh, I installed my foot the wrong way. I lack patience when it comes to some of these projects, which I should have, but I guess when you've been doing so many of them, you just start to take some shortcuts. And again, I'm not going to pretend to be as careful as, what am I doing? As careful as some other people will be. I'm just not a super careful sewer, I guess, but maybe some of you out there. I've got a lot of seamstress friends. Hi, ladies. Do you guys do the same thing? Am I the only one who cheats around like this? Okay, we're gonna lower this foot. I'm gonna unzip my zipper. And I always backstitch my things on. And you're just going to stitch along the zipper. And again, if you pre-basted it in, it's not going to wiggle. You're not going to need to fight it. It's just going to go right in there. Try to stay as straight as possible. I don't really worry as much, again, this sounds terrible, on my underside because it ends up under the lapping, but you know, as straight as you can be. I certainly don't let it go all wiggly everywhere, but I will show you my secret for the top one though, because I cannot stitch a straight line without a guide at all. I'm amazed at people who can, but as soon as I can't see that guide on the sewing machine, I am a lost cause. So when we zip this to do it, it can get ugly. So what I like to do, again, I love working flat. I usually always put my zippers in before I complete the circle of the skirt, just because I do hook and eye closures at the top, so it never really matters, and I just find it to be so much easier. So let me move these threads. I should have clipped them, but of course, didn't bring any tiny scissors over here. Okay. So I zip it back up because I want to get an idea of where this is all going to lay. I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing. Let me move my machine and try to get centered in this image for you again. So as you can see, we've got the one side in, and I've zipped it back up so you can see exactly how this will work. Unfortunately, by me leaving this selvage that was so thick, the one problem is I'm going to have it showing there. So hopefully it doesn't move too much when I'm wearing it. But you know what? Honestly, I am so happy with this fabric. I could care less. So, okay. I need a bigger table. Lay this over, and I'm matching everything up, and I'm pleased to say, I mean, for the most part, there's one little wiggle because just of the design where you can see the obvious point, but otherwise, it really blends. It's really great. Okay, so I take my wax, and I like to see about where I'll be stitching, and I'm hoping the one plus with the selvages, it's definitely going to catch in here, so I can leave a nice overhang. I'm just going to mark one little spot so that I know, and this may be something that no one else does, but like I said, I cannot sew that straight line to save my life, so folding this out of my way, I lay this flat, and using that line and the edge as a guide, I'm going to draw the straight line on. So it looks like I'm at about, and that seems about right, a 1/2 inch in for the seam. I'm going to straighten everything. It wiggles a lot. I want a nice straight line. This is the line that shows. This is the one that counts. So even though we're blending our thread, you still see that indentation. So you really want, this is my secret to a perfectly straight line. And actually what I also do at the base where we're going to go in the L shape around the zipper to hold that bottom in, I actually draw that in too. I am just, see, even though I don't follow all the rules, I'm still kind of a perfectionist when it comes to my finishing. So you can kind of see it. I drew it in faint because I really don't want to deal with too much scrubbing off of wax here, but you can see I've drawn in. It looks like a big backwards L. All right. So I'm going to unzip the zipper again. It's just, well, actually, I'm not. Don't judge. I'm going to start at the bottom. I went up the one side. I always believe in stitching the same direction so you prevent any gapping. So again, sometimes I'm sewing in with bulk in the machine that I don't think other people sew with, but I just like to keep directions the same. So I hope this is making sense. I talk a lot. I do apologize. Okay. So finagle all of this fabric through your machine, and then line everything up as flat as you can. And can you see, I forgot I moved everything. I am so sorry. Okay. You know what, I'll even zoom you in on. Oh no! Did you hear the Lego breakage? Ah! This lined up in your sewing machine. Make sure that your overlay is laying nice and flat. You're going to start sewing back stitch and sew your perpendicular line first, which is only about a ½ inch long. I've already kind of started, but I was making a fool of myself, so I have to start over. So we're going to turn. This is the awkward part. Look at all that fabric you can stuff through the arm of a machine. Okay. Now once again, you're going to straighten everything out. Make sure that overlap is just as you want it to lay before you start stitching this down. I've got a little bubble. I'm not quite sure how, but you know what? Sometimes little bubbles are okay. You can usually steam those out, so don't kill yourself. And again, this is going to follow the curves of your body too. You know, we all have butts, so that bubble is going to straighten out. Don't worry about it. As long as it's not like a drastic bubble. Mine is like a little teeny tiny bubble. Okay, I'm talking too much again. I do apologize. Okay, I'm ready to go up this straight stitch. We're just going to follow the line that we drew on, our little cheater line. It is amazing because it'll keep us nice and straight and on par here. And I'm just making sure I'm still lined up. Again, if you basted, you can pre-base this part and then it'll be really easy for you because you'll just be following over. You know, shortcuts all the way. Almost there. I don't know what's happening here. Okay. Then, as you get right up to your zipper, sorry, you're obviously working on your zipper. You're gonna lift this up. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm lifting up my tab, grabbing the zipper spool. Make sure your needle is down in the fabric. Lift your presser foot and pull your zipper out of the way. Just pull down your pull, and it may be a little difficult, but you get it through there. And again, if you've basted, this is so easy then. I did not, so I'm just kind of guessing here at where this needs to lay on the zipper. And then finish up your line. I always backstitch. I'm just always worried about seams pulling loose. So, okay. And that's it, you guys. That is all you need to do. Look at this. I am no professional, but look at this. You have a zipper. I'm going to sneeze. Oh. I know there's going to be another one. Okay. That's all it takes. Look at this. Zip that up, check your work, make sure that it's laying as flat as you want. But look at how, that wasn't that scary, was it? We got it in. Zipper. The rest is super easy. And you know what? My husband hasn't come home for dinner, so we have time to do it. All right, I'm gonna switch out the zipper foot. I'm gonna place this regular foot back in. I'm gonna go back to my white thread only because the lining of this skirt is very white, so I like when my thread blends in the inside. Anybody know what I did with that thread? Anybody? Anybody? There it is. Sorry. Okay, talking too much. I'm trying to get comfortable with the camera, so I'm probably talking too much. Okay. Almost out to, okay. All right, so now we still have 2 open ends each side here. To insert this pocket, I just do a pocket at the top of each side. So make sure if you don't have a directional print, make sure you're checking where your zipper is because your pocket's going to go at that same end, the top. Ask me how I know to double check that. Okay, so you're going to take the pocket straight edge so that it's on the selvage and right sides together. And you're just going to stitch this straight down. Oh, you know what, and I'm going to move mine in a little because I need to stay on that selvage. Okay. Might have a little curve at the top because it went with a curved, probably a circle skirt pattern. So I just inched mine up a little bit. But if you're designing your own, it'll probably have a straight top so you don't have to worry. But like I said, I kind of have had this pocket pattern floating around for about 2-3 years now, and I just keep on using it. Alrighty, back stitch it in, stitch straight down. All the way down. Inserting a pocket is super easy. In fact, once you master this, you can insert pockets into your ready-to-wear clothes. You use that handy-dandy seam ripper and just take apart the portion where you want a pocket and stick it in the same way you're doing it with here and then reseal everything up. All right. Oh, no. All right. This happened. Look at that. Mistakes happen. I'm going to go back and add a second row just a little bit further over. Rather than editing out, I'll let you see. We all make them, let's be honest, guys. Nobody's a perfect seamstress. I don't ever want beginners to be scared of mistakes. It's all fixable. I actually get kind of embarrassed when people say something like when they compliment a piece I make and they're like, oh, you're so talented or you're so good. I always want to respond and go, oh no, I'm still learning. I mean, I feel like with sewing, there's always new techniques coming out and new ways of doing things, and that's why I don't ever feel bad about not following like a certain rule. If I think of a different way to do something, I'm just going to go for it. So don't shy away from it, guys, please. And what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, you started with a flat piece of fabric. If it doesn't turn out, it's still a flat piece of fabric. Just keep practicing. Okay, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. You're matching the side edge of your pocket with the selvage edge of your skirt, making sure to place the pocket at the top edge of the skirt and not at the hem edge. And you're going to put right sides of fabric together and just stitch straight down. Did it again. You know what? The selvage edge of this fabric is not actually even, but it's okay because it fell within the pocket. So we're all good. You're going to take your pockets and you're going to press them flat. but you're actually going to press it rather than pressing your seam edges out. You're going to encase the pocket seam allowance inside the seam allowance of the skirt, if that makes sense. So you're going to end up, your back is going to look like this. You want both seam allowances going in the same direction and press it flat. I'll be right back. I'm going to press mine. Give me just a second. You're going to line up your pockets on the edge, hanging over the edge. You're going to line up your pockets while they're sticking out from your skirt pieces, like so, okay? And since I didn't have a pattern that I'm using, my pockets aren't exactly perfectly placed, so the most important thing for me is to line up this patterns on my fabric again. So I really want these scallops to line up at the bottom if I'm going to use them as the hem, so you won't need to be as careful. Again, if you're not using a directional or a directional print, I'm sorry, it won't be as big of a deal. And you know what, my selvages are actually not very even, so I'm going to follow this top one, but hope. Let's see, are we lining up? I think we are. May have to do a little bit of fudging, but for the most part, it looks good. You can pin here. I don't pin. So what I do, since I hate to pin, let me pull in the sewing machine. Let me angle you guys again so you can see a little better. I tack with just a couple of stitches the top corner of this pocket here, basically the same right inside the seam allowance. It just holds it all together so that when we go to place the waistband on, it's not wiggling around on us. So just go right over your seam for that pocket, that side seam there. Just a couple of stitches. Holds it all in place so you know it's not wiggling around. Now, you're going to start at the top corner of your pocket, the top outside corner here, right here. And we're going to stitch all around the outside of the pocket. You're going to follow it back up until it meets the side seam you stitched. Stop at that side seam just a little bit. Take it 1 or 2 stitches further and turn your fabric in the machine. You know, leave your needle down, lift your presser foot and turn. You'll see I'll do it, but turn and continue down. By going that 1 to 2 stitches over, you're making sure that that pocket seam is enclosed. You're going to press it out. It's going to look nice and smooth. If you stopped right on this seam, you're going to have that seam of the pocket butting up against your side seam of the skirt, and it just, I don't know, I just prefer that really smooth look. So that's the key. For me at least. Again, it's not the right way, it's just the way I do it. Okay. Here we go. Back stitch, always back stitch, back stitch, back stitch. I'm following around. I'm giving it a 1/2 inch seam allowance on this one because, I'm sorry, not a 1/2 inch. I'm doing a 6/8, 3/4 inch, there we go, 3/4 inch seam allowance, only because I know that my pockets didn't line up perfectly and I want to make sure both are completely enclosed in the stitching. Oh my gosh, don't do a video at night, right guys? Okay. I'm struggling a little, don't judge. I want to make sure what I'm doing is making sure that this bottom seam allowance, this bottom layer, it was starting to tuck under from the machine, so make sure both seam allowances were still pointing out. You want them going the same direction right now. Because we want to be able to line up that skirt edge once we get to the end of this pocket. Take your time around the curves. In the beginning, curves are definitely daunting, but doable. And at that seam, the original pocket side seam, I'm gonna go just one, maybe two stitches, just two, over. My needle is in the down position. I lift my presser foot and I turn the fabric. And actually, yep, that's perfect. Okay, sorry. And now we're just gonna continue down, all the way down your side seam. This is pretty much it, you guys. You're almost done with your skirt. We're halfway there. We've gotten through the two hardest parts. Again, you can pin this if you feel more confident having it pinned. If I had it pinned, I wouldn't be able to keep opening it to keep checking my lineup of my print though. So this is another reason I don't pin. I really just kind of eyeball things. It's just the way I work. Let's see. So, now that it's all stitched up, I'm just going to check, because I left the selvage, normally you wouldn't even double check this, but I'm just going to double check and make sure that all my selvage is contained in here before I clip, because if I have to do any more stitching, I don't want to screw it up. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yay! We're pretty lined up again. I panicked for a second. I thought we weren't lined up. I forgot it's like the little scallop in here. But it appears that everything is enclosed. And see, by enclosing that pocket seam, now you can see what I'm talking about. If we would have stitched all the way up, you'd have this sticking right on the edge if we would have done that. But by going 1 to 2 over, that folds in just a little bit, so you get this really smooth finish. Okay, I'm going to turn it back inside out though real quick. So now that you've got that done, oh, sorry for that's a lot of fabric. Ugh. Okay, you're going to go ahead and take your scissors and you're going to clip on an angle from this corner where your pocket seam allowance and the seam allowance of the skirt meet, right here. And you're going to clip up towards that corner where you pivoted at the sewing machine. So this is going to help your pocket lay perfectly flat when you're wearing it. Be very careful not to clip your seam. All right. Now, before I even turn it right side out, 2 things I have to do. I'm going to go and press the bottom portion of that seam below the snip you just made. See, you're going to have this little triangular leftover here at the top leading into your seam, or your seam allowance, sorry. You're going to go ahead and press that open. Ooh, you know what I love about this? You can take this and seam it up to some of your tops and see what would go perfectly with your fabric. But anyway, press this flat. And then the top portion, we're going to press towards the front of the dress. Or, I keep saying dress, skirt. How do you know what the front of your skirt is? Well, your lap zipper, here, the direction the lap goes is going to be towards the back of your dress. So your under zipper is the back side of your dress. So you're going to, this is where it always confuses me, but you're going to find your back. Here's your back, okay? So here's my back, here's my back. I'm just following it around. So here is the front. And before I even get up to press, it always drives me crazy. I always feel like I'm going to lose it. You're going to be putting on a waistband. So you have 5/8 inches of seam allowance at the top portion here. Before I even go and press anything, I always take this, stick it under my sewing machine, and just stitch in the corner here a little bit so that my pocket automatically goes towards that front. That way you won't be confused later when you're attaching your waistband. Just kind of keeps me from making a mistake down the road. So just right within the seam allowance. Oops, I got a lot of threads there. Just gonna do a little bit of stitching. And you know what? You can even, well, go ahead and do this. You can even pivot a little and just do a little bit of an L shape. Really hold it in place. Oh, you guys, I'm really excited though. This matching really worked out well with this print. This is such a great print. Okay. I'm going to the gardens this weekend, and I think this would be absolutely amazing to wear there. Okay. I'm going to go press that seam out. I will come back and show you how I go about creating the waistband and gathering this up. Now you can, well, we'll get into that when I get back. We're getting there. So, we need to gather the top edge. You can do this multiple ways. You can use a ruffler foot, which actually kind of pleats the fabric, except I'm going to admit I am terrible at calculating what I would need to set it at to get it to fit into my waistband. If you can manage your ruffler foot way better than I can, it is a great alternative. It's quick, it's easy, boom, you're done. You can also create gathering stitches. You can hand baste gathering stitches in. You can use the floss method where you zigzag. You take a piece of floss, you lay it flat over your fabric and zigzag around it. Do not zigzag into it. Zigzag around the floss. And you are able to just adjust your skirt on the floss. It's wonderful, but I use my floss for my teeth. So, what I like to do too, and I'm just not... Gathers are adorable on so many people. I am very self-conscious about my mom pouch. I'll be totally honest with you guys. And I just, my way of combating some of that when I want to wear I still love the fluffy skirts of the 50s and 60s. And it's breezy, it's comfortable. The way that I feel better about the stomach region is I absolutely adore, and I've discovered this through collecting vintage pieces, some of my favorite 50s numbers are the ones that have the beautifully pleated, little teeny tiny pleats all the way around. So I have found that when I've been creating skirts for myself and for some of my friends, that I end up taking the time to sit and I just sit and watch TV. This is one of the few times I use pins. I go through about 2 or 3 cases of pins. And I just sit and I hand pin a ton of little pleats. But how do you know how big to make them? I don't, I guess. So I'll show you the technique that I use to guess how many. Sorry, I'm looking for my waistband. Everything is flowing everywhere today. I showed it to you guys earlier. Here it is. So, the first step. I have to decide which side is going to be the end and which side is going to be the tab. So I guess I should clarify the end is the side that I consider the nice finished end that goes over the lapping side of the zipper. I hope that makes sense. So that's going to line up pretty smoothly with it. So I usually just leave on that side a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and that's it. So, part of it though that you have to, I somehow always mix myself up on, is deciding what side is going to be the side you pin to. Because if you mark one side, let's say this side, and you go to attach, I've done it wrong. This would end up going on that side. Does that make sense? So I actually lay it over. This is just because I don't know if I'm the only one with a brain that gets confused when working like this. So I take my side with the lapping over side. I take the fabric. Oh, and let's check the direction of the fabric too, because we probably want to keep the drapes going the same way. So actually, I'm going to use the selvage side. So I'm just going to leave the selvage. But I'm going to mark, because I still, even though I have a directional print this time, I'm just going to show you what I do when I don't, so that I don't confuse myself, is I take my wax. Sorry. Ooh, zoom. Yeek. Okay. I take my wax and I just mark the edge right where I want it to meet up and on the side that it will be on. And because I'm just going to move the skirt out of the way, and when I freak out later, scream at the screen that it's behind me, okay? So we measure down. I'm not going to tell you the waist size, but I'm going to measure down it. So if you're paying attention, you might figure it out. But I'm going to measure down my waist size. And you're going to want to mark right where it is. So make sure you measure yourself, guys. That's one thing about sewing. You're always going to know your exact measurements at all times because you have to. And like I said, I fluctuate. So I pretty much measure myself before every project. Oh, now I have to do math, you guys. I'm not doing math, I'm counting. Oh, that's so bad, isn't it? My brain's not working today, I told you. Okay, yep, I should have been able to figure that out on a normal day. Okay, so I'm marked. That leaves me, after I put my seam allowance in, probably about 2 inches for my tab where you can put your eyes for your hook and eyes, or you could do snaps, you could do a button, however you like to do closures. I tend to do hook and eyes because it leaves me the ability to cut them out and adjust where they're at from both sides if my size fluctuates. Back in the day they did hook and eyes and buttons and buttonholes. Buttons and buttonholes are great, but sometimes when I go to adjust a waistband, if I want to move from both sides, your buttonhole isn't going to move. And also when you go to take it apart, you can't fully open up the waistband if you're resizing your gathers. So I've actually had to, with vintage dresses, deconstruct waistbands and rebuild them using the bits of fabric to change sizing. And I know that's something that I'll cover in a future video because I've had a lot of people asking me how I enlarge skirts, vintage skirts, to fit me, because a lot of what you find in vintage is teeny tiny 24-inch waist, which nothing wrong if you have a 24-inch waist. I'm totally jealous, but most of us don't. And I've gotten tired of passing things up because they're not my size, so I buy them and I change them. But back to this waistband. So you've got it marked off, and you can use cam snaps. If you have a cam snap, they're fantastic. It's quick. It's the easiest thing to use. You punch with the machine and you do it. And in fact, I use cam snaps on most of my daughter's clothes. It's easier for her to snap in than button or zipper. So, yeah. So, back to how I figure out the pleats. I'm going to take my waistband then, where I've marked my finished size and my starting, my start. And I neat them up and I fold it. I'm basically going to fold this into quarters, but I mark it as I go. So, here's my half. Then I fold it again, meeting up these points. And I mark these quarter sections here, just in about. No one's going to be checking your pleats with a ruler and saying, hey, these are off. I think as long as your pleats are fairly even, for the most part, people are going to be too busy admiring them to even notice that some of them are bigger or smaller. So, okay, let's see. My markings aren't too clear because of the way I had folded. I did this wrong. How do I have marked like that? Hang on. Or did I mark as I was trying to mark? Okay, here's my finish. Sorry, guys. Again, I won't edit out mistakes because mistakes are part of sewing, and I want people to feel like they are totally normal even if they make a mistake. There is nothing wrong with it. You know what? Screw it. I'm measuring, okay? My brain does work somewhat. I can actually figure out my halfway point and my... Okay, here's the halfway point. Now you probably have figured out my measurement. That's okay. No shame. Okay. So, we're all measured up. Now, I remembered where it was. Aren't you proud? Okay. We are going to take this, and this is what I was talking about. I'll set this up, and then I'll turn off the camera once I show you how to do it. I will work on this tonight, and maybe I'll wait to sew it together till tomorrow, though. I have a full house tomorrow because it's, summer breaks. Everybody's taking vacation time and everything, so maybe you'll end up in my workroom after all. But what I like to do is I pin each quarter that I've marked now. So, oh, and, oh my gosh, you know what, it's okay, because I'm a little under my waist measurement that I'm using, but I should have left a little more of an overhang because you're going to want to account for your zipper, if that makes sense, but I'll be okay here. All right, so I pin this. I like to sew, when I go to sew this on, I will sew from the side of the pleat. So I put all my pins on the side that I'm pleating, just because that's the easiest way for me to go. Now, to find my quarters in the skirt, you know your halfway point, since we're doing a 2-seam skirt. And it's really easy if you're doing a 4-paneled skirt too, because then you're just going to put all 4 seams into those spots. But since I only have 2 seams, I'm just going to mark the other 2 sections here. Okay. I'm only going to go up to 1 though. I don't pin the whole thing up right from the start because that just gets so... I don't want this in a circle to start with. It can be hard on the last turn there. And, you know, sometimes I'll even sew my pleats in as I go if I don't want to use a million pins because I'm nervous. I've got kids and dogs, and pins just, you know, I can't tell you how many times my husband has stepped on one because one has fallen. So I don't know why it's always him and not the kids or dogs, but thank God. Not that, you know, my poor hubby, but he can take it a lot better than a dog or a kid. Okay. So, now I know how much fabric I have to get into this quarter section of my waistband. So, I play this game over and over again for the first time just until I figure out about how much. So, you know, I just guess. Okay, this is about the halfway point. Just until I get a small enough section. Actually, I'll probably just do this halfway point, and then I just work it. I mean, there really is no, I do not measure, I do not calculate. I'm sure there's a way to measure and calculate.
Take mine and do it.
Sorry, my kids are coming out here and they're talking. Not on the video, please, babe. I don't put my kids on video, sorry. What do you think? Can you go the other way around? Good job. Sorry about that. So, again, I don't measure. I'm just guessing. You know, I'm just pushing this fabric in. I do sewing to relax. I'm a mom. I'm busy most of the time. I usually only have the evenings or late afternoons to do this. And when I sit down to do it, don't put pins in your mouth. Don't do what I do. Do as I say, not as I do. As I was saying, I do it to relax. This is, I'm usually making for myself, my friends, or my family, and I just enjoy taking it slow and not putting pressure or stress on it. I've burned myself out in the past putting pressure on the sewing process, and it's led to many burnouts, just losing the passion for it. And I've recently gotten back into it, and I figured I'd share the videos because I do love to sew and I love to teach to sew. My little cousin just recently got into it, and I am just so proud of her. And I think it was one of the best days I've had was when she came over to start working on sewing, and she wanted to come play in my workroom with me, and I was able to share some of my sources with her and fabric and patterns, and it's just such a great hobby to be able to share with somebody. And I had so much fun teaching her that she's kind of what pushed me to want to make a video to start with, and I guess we'll see how they're received if I'll continue, but you know, sharing a hobby is just so fun, and there's not a lot of people in my area who sew. Okay, I'm having, see, now this is what happens sometimes. I'm making them too big, so I may not have enough fabric to do really crazy, or did I? You guys, what did I do? Oh, no, that's already pleated. Okay. So, I think sometimes when this happens, like I said, I'm no perfectionist. I definitely did not make these even. Did I? Actually, no. Yes? Yeah, pretty off. Okay, let's try again. Oh, there I go again. Don't put pins in your mouth, okay? Seriously, I don't know. I have a problem with it. People have swallowed them. Don't do it. Okay. I still am ending up uneven, so apparently my brain doesn't work today. A little closer. I'm just going to keep breaking it down then for this first time. Sometimes you just got to get a feel for where it goes. And again, I won't edit it out, as tempted as I will be, because I make embarrassing noises when I mess up. But I want everybody to know that this is just part of the process. So I really want to get everybody sewing. It's just so cool when people make their own stuff, whether it be clothes, decor, you know, quilts. Quilting is incredible. It's a great way to start if you're just starting out sewing. Straight line quilting is great practice. And oh my gosh, some of the quilts that are out there are just total works of art. I actually started out quilting. I was quilting baby blankets. And then I started doing full-size quilts and then art quilts. And then I discovered the love of, through my vintage obsession, the love of making my own clothes. So, all right, I think we've got it. And actually, I think I've got not enough pleats now. Explain that to me. I am going to have to make them a little bigger. See, it's a process, guys. It's a process when you do the pleat way, but I promise you it is well worth it. When you press down those pleats after you get this waistband put together, oh, just gorgeous. I love a pleated skirt. So, sorry for jammering, but I don't want to leave you with dead silence here. Just want to show you one section so you can see how these pleats look as opposed to a gather. I wish I had a gathered example. I'm trying to think if I do. I don't think I do. I think I've gotten rid of most of my gathered items. The one problem with being really into clothing, and when you make your own and you also enjoy buying vintage, is you end up with a lot. So you have to really keep up with donating, selling, and giving away to friends in order to keep from becoming overwhelmed. My kids and I love watching Hoarders, and it really keeps me motivated not to, I get scared that I can see sometimes how collecting could lead to it. So I constantly try to keep a revolving door of all of it, even my vintage, you know, enjoy it a little bit and then pass it on to another home. That's the fun in it. So. Okay, I'm just going to get to the halfway point of the side and let you see how it looks. And you know what, I'll even stitch it down because like I said, you can see my process then because that's kind of how I work. And you know what, if my husband keeps working, I could probably finish this tonight because we're supposed to be grilling tonight. I don't want to make it if he's not here, so hang on. I apologize. My first video was very choppy. I was very nervous and kind of clueless as to what I was doing, so I think it takes some experimenting and getting used to. I'm sure my first few will be, even this one's probably annoying some of you, so I'm going to keep practicing, keep working on it, and hopefully at least you're getting some ideas, even if it is a little choppy and a little less than professional, but, you know, like I said, I'm just a hobbyist. I'm not a professional, and, you know. This is a really great thing to be doing while you're watching TV at night. Sit on the couch and try not to drop your pins, though. You could also base these in. It's really painstaking though, honestly. I tried and I found myself more frustrated than using the pins, which, believe me, as you know, pins frustrate me, but the basting I just didn't have the patience for. And yet I love hand sewing. I don't know about anybody else out there who sews. Is anyone else into embroidery? Because I recently rediscovered my passion for embroidery as well. I'm not good at it by any stretch, but I enjoy it, so we'll get there. Cross stitch is very relaxing for me, but I can't do counted, not with the kids. There's a lot of interruptions. I have to have a stamped cross stitch. I love the vintage stamped cross stitches, the tablecloths and all that. I'm working on fixing up a dress right now, a modern Ishakti, am I saying it right? I found one of those at the thrift store with bleach stains on it, and I tried dyeing it, even though I knew it wouldn't take right, and the color turned out beautiful, but there's just a couple of weird streaks where you could see where the bleach had been that are now just darker blue. So I actually bought a vintage cross stitch transfer. Okay, I'm a little off, and you know what? I'm just going to borrow from the next side. I bought a vintage cross stitch transfer, and I had some fun laying some of them out over the worst of it, and I'm hoping it'll disguise it. It'll probably take me a good, year to finish, but if it turns out, I'll share it with you guys, because that's another great alternative for when you got some vintage that's got some stains that are really stubborn, like you cannot get them out even after a long soak. Embroidery is just such a beautiful way to add it in. You guys, I'm a little nervous because I'm really borrowing a lot of fabric from the next section, so I'm thinking I need to loosen just a couple of these. I think I've gotten this happens too. I get a little comfortable chatting or watching TV if it's nighttime, and I start to get a little loosey-goosey with my pleat work. So we're just going to make a few of these a little bit more spaced. So like I said, these won't be perfectly even because I definitely am just, winging it. But I still think from the front it's not going to be a big deal. I still think this is just going to be gorgeous with that. But you can see how flat compared to gathers, even as I've got a million pins in there. I mean, you're really sandwiching that fabric, and you're avoiding that bulk from really flying out at the waistline. The majority of your bulk is going to go throughout at the, just after your hips and towards your knees. So it really gives you that nice bell shape and not the, sticking straight out from the waist. Now you could petticoat it and get a little more too, but I love a nice thick gathered skirt that you don't necessarily have to petticoat. Like it's going to be close to 90 this weekend, and the thought of a polyester petticoat, I think I'm just going to go with the cotton skirt and a nice cotton slip. So almost there. All right, I'm going to stitch down at this point and just give you an idea. So let me stitch this row. Now you have to be careful with pins. You run a huge risk if you sew over them of breaking them, popping them back in your eye, or breaking your needle, jamming your machine. So I've done all of these. None of which are fun. I did not get it back in my eye, but they have flown back at my face, so just be careful. I'm not the best either, so just go slow. You may miss one, so the slower you're going, the less chance that it's going to be a bad break off here. It'll at least just break slow and calmly. Okay. I'm really sorry if you prefer I don't talk while doing the work, I guess if you could say it politely in the comments, I'm more likely. Oh my gosh, my kids, I just jumped and they just banged into the wall. Recording, so I may have to edit a little bit of that. As I was saying, if you don't like the talking, just well, you know, number one, there's plenty of tutorials, I'm sure, where people don't talk as much as me, but, you know, if you're nice and you say, oh, I really love what you do, but, you know, I got a little distracted, you know, that's fine. You can, I can try to be a little bit less, gabby. But, you know, if you're nasty and you're like, shut up, lady, then probably not going to listen to you. I don't listen to my kids when they talk to me like that either. So, let's see. I'm just making sure this is still going because I'm having issues. New to all this, and my phone doesn't have a lot of storage space, so they get yelled at me about my SD card already, so hopefully we'll be able to finish this project. And like I said, once I finish this, I'll turn it off so you don't have to watch and be bored by me for, you know, an hour as I put this together, but I'll come back when I've got all of this pleated and I'll show you how to complete the waistband. It's just, this is the boring part, I'm really sorry, but it's so worth it, trust me. Okay, so I've got this down, I promise. We're just about there. So I'm about a quarter of a way around my skirt already. So you see how long it takes to pleat, but you guys, I mean, are you ready? This is just, I love pleats. So, you know, here we go. I mean, look at the finish there. It's just, it's even, it's very nice once you, sorry, flatten this out. Once I do the pressing, I mean, that is just, it's so, it's true to the style. It's just such a beautiful finish. It's clean. It's very clean lined. And you know, gathering's great. I love it. You got to be good at gathering. I mean, you have to really space your gathers, and you have to take the time to, when you are gathering, if you decide to do this gathered, make sure that you're pulling your gathers down. You want, you know, they can get caught where your gather will turn and go sideways. So when you're gathering, you know, make sure you're, I pleat. So that's the way I do it. That's the gathered skirt top. I'm going to finish going around the waistband all the way to my end mark. And I will press, after I finish sewing this all down, I'm going to press this up, and I'm going to take the top edge of this waistband and I'm going to press that down a seam allowance. Okay? Okay, I'm back and ready to show you how to finish your waistband. At this point, you should have pressed your waistband up, and the top portion should be pressed down a seam allowance. You're going to fold it back, right sides together, and on your overlapping side, you're going to stitch a seam allowance, allowing it to run just even with that edging of your fabric. I hope this is showing. So I am going to stitch straight up just along here. On the opposite side, your underlapping side, you should have your excess fabric. You're going to do the same thing and fold it right sides together. And this time, you're going to sew your typical seam allowance. So like I said, I always leave a lot of excess because I like to leave room for adjusting my skirts in the future. So I'm just going 5/8 of an inch in. And straight down. Like so. You're going to take your scissors, clip your corners, And I actually trimmed down that seam allowance as well. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Be careful not to catch your skirt in the fabric. And now, let me trim these extra threads. I'm going to flip that right side out, press out your corners. And you have your waistband. I'm going to press this down, and then I'm going to go back and top stitch as close to the same as possible, maybe about an 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch away from it, all along to hold that waistband in place. Pop the other corner out. You can either top stitch this down on your machine, or if you'd like, which if I wasn't doing this the day I want to wear it, you can hand stitch it in place from behind, leaving it completely smooth from the front. But top stitching works too. I'll be back. Waistband is done. I've top stitched all the way around. And everything is matching up perfectly in the back. So now what you can do is add your closure at the top of your waistband here. I'm going to go ahead and do hook and eyes, which I'm going to hand sew in later. Last thing you need to do is finish the bottom of your skirt. At this point, on any other normal skirt, I would go to the ironing board and fold under about 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 to 1/2 inch, press it, and then I would pick my hem allowance, probably a little bit of a deeper one on the straight edge, and press it down, and then either hand stitch or machine sew it in place. But I am just in love with the scalloped bottom this creates, so I'm actually going to, I'm going to do something a little different. I've also decided against adding any trim to the skirt, despite what I thought in the beginning. The blue trim didn't really match the blue of the fabric, and I feel like the lace is going to take away from this really unique scalloped. Even if I zoomed, it's really hard to see, but it's got like that little eyelash effect at the bottom of this faux lace. I just don't want to distract from it. So instead, I was going to take some seam binding. I've never done this before, so trial run. And all I was going to do is straighten out the one edge. And go ahead and follow these curves with the seam binding. You're going to sew with the outside edge towards the bottom of your fabric, right sides together, and just follow this all the way around. I will go ahead and do this and show you what it looks like finished, because you really can't see what I'm doing on the machine at this point, so, and we'll see if it even works. I'll be back. Okay, I've gone all around the curves using the seam binding laid flat. I'm going to go in, trim the fabric away now. I wanted to make sure it was going to work before I did that. Take the seam binding, press it down, and then press it around. It's going to create these perfect bound curves. So I'm pressing it all the way around, so it's going to be inside the skirt completely. You're not going to see any of it from the front. This I will hand stitch in. You could go ahead and machine stitch in a matching color, but I really don't want anything distracting from this print. So I'm going to do all this off camera. It's going to be really boring. It's going to take a long time. So I'll be back with the finished product.